Hello everyone, this is roughly my first teaching video and I'm gonna use my reboot version of Lady, both as an example and also on other topics. Before anything, I would like to apologize for this amateur filming of this session. I will constantly be shifting and zooming to try to show how I do my line art. Now that's out of the way, my first art tip and topic is about line weight. Quickly, line weight is the thickness and thinness of the lines used to outline the subject matter. The thicker the outline, the more pronounced the subject or even parts of the subject will be. So the thicker line weight is usually for outlining the more outer or macro shapes and forms of the subject. So this helps in defining their details more, their shapes, etc. Otherwise, a thinner line weight is used for details like very small details, delicate, smaller subject matter, etc. Or even minute details that aren't important. So let's say, you apply a thicker line weight on the characters themselves, or thicker line weight for the characters, while thinner line is used for just background noise, background objects, etc. This is not a set standard, however. There are many artists that use different line weight or even very similar line weight without variations to create a visual effect. The thinner the lines all throughout would give a sense of making everything blend together. This kind of reminds me of Tintin comics, if you know the artist Monsieur Helge. So most of his comics, most popularly the Tintin comics, they usually use very lightweight lines, or very symmetrical, you know, lines. Not a lot of shadow, so it gives this very clean, symmetrical look to it, making everything from the subjects, the lead characters, and even the backgrounds. They all have this sense of prominence being blended together, versus heavy lines and variations, even inking. It gives everything a striking and even dark pop to their appearance. I guess if you think about the Berserk manga, they have very dark lines, heavy inking, shadows, etc. So, on the note of of wanting to utilize line weight and their differences, my second art tip would be about to just invest on ink pens as a set. If you can find really good ink pens and you're allowed to sample them on a store, then yeah, go for it. Of course, this tip works for traditional artists, but for digital artists, I'm not as, skilled, or I don't know much about how every different art apps or applications can be used, but I can see that digital artists are also experimenting with different brushes, different inks, etc. So keep those in mind when you're applying them. Experiment on them. Use as many of those inks, pens, brushes on your digital application so that your art can definitely, have these interesting details. just by using different line weight. Now, I'll be talking more about traditional art because it's my main medium. So, going back to that tip about getting a good set of ink pens, I will highly recommend to just go to a craft store or an art supplies shop to test out any of their ink pens for yourself so that you can, be comfortable in finding that right pen set, for your line art. So, anyway, for beginners, if you notice there are numbers engraved on pencils and pens, that's how you can tell how thick the ink will come out when you draw. So, the you'll notice some of them are in decimal number forms. So if it says like it's a 0.005 ink pen, that is a very incredibly thin. It has a very incredibly thin ink that'll disperse out of its pen. So the line that it will draw is very thin. That'll be very useful for like fine details, etc. Versus if it's a 0.05 or a zero point 0.5 all the way to a whole number, that pen will disperse a thick ink on the paper. So on and so forth on each end of the scale. The higher the higher the number on a decimal form, like if it says a 0.030 or something, it's a thin line for that ink pen or even a pencil. If it's a whole number, 1, 2, or 10, that pen will disperse a very thick line. So, going to the last tip for this video is the use of references. So obviously you will need them to draw whatever it is that you have your mind set to, but there could be times that you will still not be satisfied or not find the exact one-to-one reference that you need for your art piece, which is fine. It's okay. I mean, finding references is always, personally, it's a journey to find the right references for your art. You want to like depict your characters or the backgrounds, the places, etc., as something as akin to what you have in mind. But sometimes, or perhaps even most of the time, in my experience, there aren't always going to be perfect references. And so the studying part is the one that comes into play. You will really need to either spend time looking up these specifics, like besides looking up visual references, maybe you'll find, actual actual academic or even like video formats of something for that specific subject matter that you're looking for, so that you can study how that thing works. So for example, here with Reboot Mary, I have a ton of references for artillery, for weapons, and yet I can see that I'm still practicing, I'm still studying how different types of guns can work, how each of their little parts come into play, how can they be reloaded, holstered, or like how are they held if someone is trying to safely hold this gun against someone, even if they don't intend on using it to harm someone. So, Mary is holding her finger just outside the trigger area of this gun because that's how you safely use this. That's how you safely use a gun, or at least from the things that I've learned about drawing handguns. So yeah. So besides finding visual references, studying these things, it helps you to know how to. Okay, apologies. I had to pause right there. But anyway, I think I was making a point about, studying for these references. So besides visuals, you have to look up, different subjects about the things that you're looking for before, drawing them, and further, honing how they work so that you're not always too confused. So, which is something that I'm trying to apply when I'm drawing these guns for this character, Mary, Lady. So, yeah. So, I just want to impart just how we need to be patient with ourselves with this. Like, art is labor. Studying, practicing, observing, rinse and repeat. If the world can't learn patience, at least a good artist can. So yeah, I think that was my last tip. So again, sorry again for this amateur film. Maybe next time I'll try to shoot a much more agreeable film and finish this character sheet for Reboot Mary. So yes, thank you. And I'm very grateful for a lot of the people who are commenting on my videos as of late, and even some of my community post art pieces. So yeah, thank you so much. And yes, I will be continuing Reboot Mary next time. I'll film finishing this, and I won't. This won't be the last one though. Reboot Mary is not the last example. I'll be moving on to other characters as well as other OC's original characters that I want to share. That headcanon OCs for DMC Devil May Cry, as well as other stuff. But we'll see. Anyway, thanks again, and that's how I go. Hello, everyone.